Hello, everyone. I just wanted to share this study here that was released by the Bureau of Justice Statistics, and it's a study based on carjackings from 1995 to 2021. It was just published in 2022, about a year ago, roughly. So, very great, relevant, and recent study. A lot of these studies that we look at sometimes take place in the 60s or 70s. So this is much more recent and can really be valuable. So a lot of useful information in this study. And of course, I will link this so you can look at it in your own time. But perhaps the most salient piece of data that stands out to me and was apparently important to the publisher as well, because it's the very first piece of information in table one, is that 90% of the carjackings occurred when there was only one victim in the vehicle. Only 10% occurred when there were two or more people in the vehicle, with a standard error of about 4% for both here. But that is incredibly useful and powerful information to see. We always say that there's safety in numbers, and I think this just supports that theory and really tells us that if you're someone who's concerned about a carjacking, if it's been happening in your neighborhood or city, I know there's been a lot of spikes in recent years in certain cities. If this is something you happen to be concerned about, then the easiest and best thing you can do is to simply invite someone, to join you. If you're going out during the holiday time, especially when you might be going to the ATM, getting cash to go shopping, that is one of the more popular times that people are targeted. So this would be a great time to bring someone. Now, even if there's no one available to join you, it's just a great piece of information to have so that you always keep it in mind. If there's a friend or neighbor around or a roommate, you can certainly invite them. So let's look at some of the other pieces of information here. You see that where did these carjackings take place? Almost 40% are at or near the victim's home. About a fifth take place in a parking lot or garage, and then another fifth of the carjackings take place on the street. Then moving down, we see that in roughly 55%, the car was recovered. In roughly 45%, the car was not recovered. So you have about a 50-50 chance, roughly, of getting your car back with a standard error of about 8% here. So moving down, we see that in the majority of cases, about 6 out of 10 roughly, the person was armed, and that the weapon of choice is usually a firearm. You see that knives were only about 11% of carjackings. And then you see that in roughly 31%, they were not armed. And in roughly 10%, it was unknown if they were armed or not. So that's interesting. Moving down, we see that victims usually resist about half the time. And here we see that victims are injured about a fourth of the time. So 1 in 4 of these carjackings, the victims incur an injury. And this is really important, I think, because this is why we talk so much about avoiding a situation like this altogether, even if you're well trained in self-defense, even if you're comfortable defending yourself, you can incur bodily harm or permanent injury or disability. So 1 in 4 is a fairly high chance of being injured, unfortunately, if you're involved in something like this. So you definitely want to protect yourself so that you don't end up in the ER or in a life-threatening situation. So this is just a great study, relevant and recent study that I invite everyone to look at. Going back to some of the interesting key findings here, let's see. We find that the majority involved a weapon. We saw that. Yeah, we found that 1 in 4 resulted in injury. Now you have to remember also these are only the non-fatal carjackings that we're looking at. So this is actually not even including fatal ones. So I would say that the risk of injury is theoretically even higher than 1 in 4 if you're including the fatal carjackings, which is of course a form of injury. So can't stress this enough. You want to avoid a situation like this. You do not want to be one of the people that are injured. And once again, simply inviting a person, if you can, to join you. If you happen to be concerned about carjackings in your area, inviting someone can reduce the chances of that happening by about 90%. So very helpful information. I hope this helps. And if you have any questions on this whatsoever, please let us know. Thank you and stay safe out there.